Hello everyone, hello. Welcome to the 14th of December. It is the 14th day of our Advent portrait series. Here is a light, and having the light seems to make me less overexposed, so that's nice. We have a really amazing reference to work from today. I've been calling these 10-minute portrait streams, but the last few days I've taken a bit longer. But we're going to start with 10 minutes. We set a timer and we'll start drawing. I was wondering what to work with today, and I asked my friends in Discord. You can join the Discord by, I don't know if it's over there or down there where the live chat is. At the top of it is a link to the Discord server, and in the daily reference channel, you can grab the reference, and you can also share your work. And it's been really wonderful seeing people's work. So I asked over there, should I like fill the page with graphite, which I thought I'd do yesterday, which then I didn't for some reason. But I'm going to do colored pencil and ink. What is everyone else going to use? Hola, Luisa. Kiki asks, ink versus watercolor. I know you can lift watercolor and not ink. Otherwise, what's the difference? That's the main difference. I'll talk about that in a moment. In my experience, anyway. Hey Linda, hello, Annette, Alyssa, you made it to the live stream, so good. Hello Toto, you are also here for the live stream. Hannah, Ike, Uta, Silesh is here. All of these wonderful people are here. Thank you all for being here. Unfortunately I don't know who our muse's name is today, but she's been photographed by the incredible David Callanan, friend of this YouTube channel. He's been on Drawn Together 3 times, I think, and we've done lots of 10-minute portraits from his reference. He's such an incredible street photographer from Boston, also a lot of photography from New York, and he went on a trip to India last year and took amazing photos there, and really incredible, intimate, up close and personal street photography. So cool, and I'm honored to be able to draw from David's work. So let's see how we go. So these are the last 3. I spent more time on this after the 10 minutes. And I also spent more time on this one. And yesterday with Helio, I also went over time. Although this one is not as dark, but I was trying to like do the graphite thing, and it was really lovely live stream. If you haven't seen that, check out the replay, because it was really lovely having Helio in the chat as well. And today, let's do it. I've got because I'm going to be using ink, I have some watercolor paper here, and I'm going to draw with a red pencil. Wish me luck. Oh, Louisa's atting everyone in the chat. Hey, Theo. Living in Germany, I now say Theo when I see Theo, but great to have you all here. 10 minutes, we can do it together. All right, let's go. So this is awesome, so cool, and there's this specular highlight on the nose and a little on the top lip, but there's no white on this, which is so cool. And so in my experience, starting with white substrate and getting something to a level of value of darkness where it's really faithful to the reference, it takes more time than just doing a simple line drawing. If we think back to the drawing of Karen on day 1 of the Advent challenge, 10 minutes, pure line, easy, because we don't have to put many marks down, really. No, easy, it's relative. But really removing the white of the paper, it takes time, and this is going to be a challenge today to see what I'm able to do in that time to really get dark, because that's the theme of the week. And tomorrow, my workshop tomorrow, I wanted to show you this because I made these nice things. Tomorrow, we're going to be starting half an hour earlier for the 10-minute portrait stream, followed by a Zoom workshop, Depth and Darkness. And the final one will be on the 22nd, which will be about illumination, which will be bringing together everything, and really it's going to be super fun. So if you're interested, then check out dylansara.com, join my workshop. only €19. Super fun, great people, great reference. The workshops are, originally I said an hour and a half, but it's more like 2 hours, which is fine because it's nice hanging out with people. So yeah, here it's just kind of, we've flipped it, the value relationship from a lot of the references that we've worked on, where rather than looking at shadow shapes as we have in some of the images, we can look at the light shapes because they're so limited, and be like, where is the light? What are we going to try and preserve of the light, rather than what are we going to bring to darkness? Oh, there's some really great highlights in the lip. And so just this light mapping, I guess it is now, rather than shadow mapping, just trying to give myself a cue from when I come in, because I practice this a lot. If this is the first time you're over here, then take your time or just charge in and see what happens. But I'm kind of challenging myself today to see how much I can get done, because I know I've done Hayao Miyazaki. It was like 2 years ago, I did this 10-minute portrait. It was maybe 15, but it was blue pencil and ink, and I was just like amazed by what I managed to get done, and I enjoyed it so much. And it's something that since then I've thought, wow, that's one of the coolest things. It was like, it was really on point. It worked out. It was amazing. Hayao Miyazaki is such an inspiration. And then I did this portrait, which I really loved. And since then, I haven't done anything like it. And I haven't really consciously tried to. But maybe, I wonder if some of that, if we can have any kind of if there's some way to bring some of that to this piece. So I think maybe that's it for now. And I was thinking when I put the ink on that maybe I put some calligraphy pen on top of it. That could be interesting. And now, wish me luck. It's going to be wet and dark. So I hope it's going to dry in time for me to be able to like keep working on it. Which means that I can't really layer it. Like I really like doing an ink wash where I layer it up, going careful and then build it up. But rather than doing that, I think I'm going to have to try and go for the value I want. Because if it's like wet and wet shapes touching each other, the really dark stuff is gonna blur out everywhere. So this is ink, and I can get the brush wet, and push this around. If it's how am I going to do this? I'll try and do as much as I can, starting with the face, giving it maybe a couple minutes to dry before I continue, trying to preserve highlights, which there aren't many highlights. Maybe I'll go over that one. It's a highlight, but it's a dark highlight. Yeah, when I asked, should I do it in pencil or ink? And Kiki said, ink scares me, and it's okay. It's good to be afraid. It's a safe fear, and we can push ourselves to maybe going into the highlight, learning and discovering that we are able to do some things. Let's see how that works out. Oh, just brushed right into the highlight. Oh, what was I thinking? And Kiki, you asked about the highlights in the hair. Even those highlights are pretty dark, and there's not many of them. Like the details mostly in the hair, it's going to be really dark. The background, get rid of the white of the background. It's quite dark over there. It's amazing how dark this reference image is. So here I'm going to get pretty black with the ink. So I'm leaving it dry. Like probably if I had more time, I would do everything this kind of grey colour, and then I would build up and layer on top of it. But I would like the edges to dry. Otherwise it's going to be, things could get really messy. Everything's in frame, good. How's everyone doing? Hola, Lewis is here. Linda loves the reference. So yeah, so do I. So I think I've preserved the highlights that I wanted to preserve. Am I ready to, I hope, kind of check the angle to see if the edges are dry enough. I'm going to try, and wish me luck, everyone. I hope it's going to be okay. It will be okay. We'll all be okay. Even if this doesn't work out right here where we are, it's okay. Just got 2 minutes left of the 10 minutes. I think we'll go over time. Anyone who is sketching this and feels like sharing, as I mentioned earlier, please join the Discord server. And if you are posting to Instagram, I would love you to tag me. And I'll reshare it to my stories. Even if you're watching the replay, in 5 years, tag me. I'd love to see it. And if you are watching the replay, leave me a comment and say hello. That would be nice. It's nice to know who watches. It's so cool in the live, seeing all these friends rock up and say hello. But I'd love to know who's watching the replays as well. Someone has been watching the replays, hello, who has missed all of the live streams and can't quite figure out, because it's, I don't know. I don't know how the notification settings work on YouTube, but if you're subscribed, you can hit the notification bell. And I think there's some way to be able to get notified about upcoming live streams. Tomorrow's will be half an hour earlier than this one. And after this, I will schedule tomorrow's and maybe the next few days worth of live streams. But yeah, that person, you know who you are probably, has been watching the replays and letting me know, how can I figure out when you're going live? I do post about it a lot on Instagram. I know everyone's not on Instagram. That's totally cool. Well, that was 10 minutes. I'm not done. And I cannot leave it like this. So we get to go into overtime today. Is anyone finished? Has anyone finished in 10 minutes? Let us know in the chat. Congratulations. So I like this big, broad brush because you can cover so much space with like a single stroke. You just push it out and you've got lots of ink down. In the workshop tomorrow, there are a couple of things I would like to cover. So it's important when we're really going for a dark image to get rid as much of the white of the paper as we can. And if you have any mid-tone paper to work on, packing paper or grey paper, that's cool. Otherwise, if we work with pencil, I'll do some demonstration with the brush as well, with ink or watercolor. You can use them similarly. Ah, yes, Kiki, your question you asked, what's the difference, ink and watercolor? But yeah, there's a method which I was wondering about today, where you cover the paper in graphite and you can erase highlights out of it, and then you can get darker. It's a different method of working than this, and can be done with any paper and pencil basically. So that's something, a method that I really like to touch upon, because it's it's a really interesting process, and it will already start to lead into next week. We're going to focus on illumination, and it's been interesting the last couple of days. There have been references which are quite dark but have like a really bright element to them, and so I'll be thinking about like the light source and how we communicate light in the coming week. And this is still very bright. There's always like a little light, and it's just, what am I saying? It's always a little light. There's often, I find my tendency, I've worked from a lot more really brightly lit references and images than really dark, but it's interesting to try and get really dark with it. And there are a few different methods and approaches and various mediums that we can use to try and get there. So we'll touch upon some of that tomorrow in the workshop. All right, things are happening now, but I feel like I've lost definition, which is all right, because I'm gonna give this a moment to breathe. Never ever finish, says Maria. Give this a moment to breathe, and then I'll do some pen on top of it, calligraphy pen, if we're able to let it dry, because I'm squinting. Like there's this really the darkest core shadow going through the middle here. That's mostly like I've got most of that shape coming through here, like looking where is the main, like the darkest shadow, and to see that that's like clearly communicated. It feels very messy at the moment, but I'm hoping to be able to tie it together a bit with the calligraphy pen. Oh, and even here, like now that there's so much ink on the paper, like there are areas that have been left fairly bright, although there is some ink on there, but they're still so bright. So when we really get dark, the more pigment we put down, it just have such a different value relationship. And if we're going for darkness and midtones, then we really need to put a lot more pigment down. This needs to dry. Toto, I know exactly what you mean. I wish I could work fast with wet medium. I usually sketch with pencils. It's hard. I've discovered that. I host these Tuesday sessions, which everyone is welcome to join. Every Tuesday, we sketch each other for 2 hours. Best practice out there. For really quick, like developing some confident mark making. And when I started out with that, I was trying to use some natural inks as well, which I love. And it just needs more time. Wet media just is something I would love to be able to achieve in a super brief time span. But in my experience, it takes more time. Just takes time. So that's part of the reason why I'm like pushing it here, to see like what am I capable of, what can I do with a bit less time. But it is hard. So we're 6 minutes into the next 10 minutes. Got my Herlitz calligraphy pen here, which I love. I had considered it would be really cool. Maybe one of the live streams, one of the 10-minute portraits, I might do a calligraphy pen portrait because I love it so much. but usually when I work with the calligraphy pen, I leave a lot of the white of the paper, and it becomes part of the kind of the texture, the structure of the drawing. Like even when I'm filling in really dark spaces, I will, when I'm hatching, I leave a lot of gaps, so there's a lot of light even in the darkness. But I wondered today, I wondered about this piece. What if I just do it with the calligraphy pen? There'd be more definition. But now I'm already starting to feel like the drawing, the initial pencil drawing, that was super clear, and it got into a state where it's like, well, this is getting really indistinct. But now I already feel the definition, the clarity kind of returning. Oh, I totally lost that highlight here, but we'll just make it a grey highlight. That's okay. What is this? There's no light like that there. What's this? Thank you, Linda. Oh, the calligraphy pen, such a cool effect. Yeah, right. It's cool. Usually, if I had more time, I may really let it dry. But this is like, there's some places where it's bleeding, but this is going pretty good. Like, oh yeah, even that just feels like it's definitely given some structure back to the wet ink. Here we go. Here's a broader calligraphy pen, 3.8mm. And this is a Pilot parallel pen for when you really need to put down a lot of ink. I like about the pens, as opposed to brushwork, that the way I was kind of diluting with my brushwork, but the pen is really such a concentrated dose of ink. As when we use the brush, it kind of pulls out, stretches the ink over a larger field, and the calligraphy pen is really great, intense, dark mark making. So, who here would you go in with the white ink after? Good question, Silesh. I haven't used white ink, but I've used gouache sometimes, white gouache, which is like an opaque acrylic watercolor. That's how I think of it. And sometimes I have done that, but it has a different, like, I see it. There's something, all right, that's our second 10 minutes. Nearly done. I see there's something in the quality of the gouache which is somehow really different to the ink, but I've used it in pieces. I did this ink portrait and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then I realized, like, oh, the nose is totally off. And then I was able to put some gouache over it and then redraw the nose, and I felt like it saved what otherwise was a really strong portrait. So, but yeah, totally. If you were going, like, thinking about the highlights, like to use gouache or white ink, whatever that is, to create the highlights after you've put down all the midtones and stuff, that would be really interesting. I feel like there's something to the quality of the light that's left here, which is different than if I were to have it all mid-tone and then put light on top of it, which is, it's like an interesting and cool thing to do, working with grey or a mid-tone paper. I feel like that is like, it's cool to be able to draw the highlights on, but I think it's a bit different than leaving the highlights rather than adding the highlights. Somehow, at least for me in the process, it has a different quality to it. This is like almost done. Kiki asked, what's the difference between using ink and using watercolor? And I think you pretty much got it. Like when I think about it, it's you can lift watercolor. When you put ink down, it's really it's in the paper, it's there, and you've got to live with it, which is something I find watercolor is a bit more forgiving in that sense. And that's probably the main thing. That's why often in tutorials where I'm doing ink or watercolor, I'll say it's kind of like interchangeable. You could use, if I'm doing ink wash, you could use a watercolor. And the way I use ink in an ink wash is like watercolor because it's basically diluted ink. But the thing is, if I was working flat with this, then the ink would pool and dry if you have time, and then the way those pooling shapes interact with each other as they dry and layer up. I think that's really interesting with ink. Let's call this a 20-minute, a 10 plus 10-minute portrait. I could keep going. I could always keep going. Hey, Sara, thank you. As I mentioned before, share your work and use these hashtags. Larry Davey, big thank you to David Callanan, and me at Dylan Sara on Instagram. And we will be back here tomorrow, half an hour earlier, before the Depth and Darkness workshop. I can't wait. The workshops have been so much fun. I've enjoyed it, and I really enjoy the direct interaction, and having people sitting there talking, asking questions. It's a really, I think it's a great way to learn, and it's also a really engaging way to share and teach. So thank you to everyone who has been there and participating. You're all awesome. And there are still seats available. So if you go to dylansara.com, you can join. And next week, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the mentorship that I will be offering, which will be starting in January. And I feel that's going to be like the next level of similar to the workshops, but really intense over a longer period of time, where we really get to know each other's process and strength and weaknesses and work through things together, and it's going to be really, really cool. So if you're interested in the idea of learning in a mentorship format with me, then send me a message, and also you can sign up to my mailing list. The link is in the description, because I will be telling everyone there about it. So I'm just kind of still going, in case you haven't noticed. And each mark I feel is really worth it. It just keeps adding. So it was a really good, the 10 minutes was a really good foundation for this one. But this is something that I often notice when I'm trying to go really dark, that it just needs more time. And sometimes if you have the luxury of time, it can be worth it just to spend some more time. And pushing for that 10 minutes from the get-go, I feel like is really, it like catapults me into a state where, okay, at 10 minutes or at 20 minutes, I've already made so many decisions. And then if there's still more time, then you can kind of like get into more subtlety, but still starting it with the idea that this is going to be really fast. There's not much time, and just go for it. Is something which I find to be a really fruitful practice. And if after 10 minutes you really don't feel good about it, start again, or just go do something else. And it's just been 10 minutes, so it's okay. All right. Louisa says, thanks, Dylan, it looks great. If Louisa says so, then it's time to stop. Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, Toto. anyone who's still here, say bye-bye in the chat. Ask a question perhaps, something you would like me to address in the coming live streams, because I really love having things to say that you would like to hear and you're interested in. So if there's anything in particular, or keep those questions in mind and put them in the chat for the next ones. Hannah says it's been a great learning experience to work along with you all of us. It's so cool. So, and yeah, share your pictures to Discord. Maybe people already have shared some things. Ike has. Cool. Hannah has already shared. And Kiki was already finished before we even started. So it's so great to see what people have done over on Discord. And would love to see your work on Instagram as well. And it's been great. I have heard from people who have been watching and drawing along with this. They were like, this is so cool. I didn't realize you were doing this. How did I not know you before? So by people sharing their work and saying that they're having fun doing this, then more people get to hear about it and they come. And the more the merrier. The more people drawing along, the more fun it is. And it's just so cool. This is something like from the old sketchy days. And let's face it, to see all these different renditions and iterations that people are doing from the same reference is just such a cool thing to see. And it's so special that we're doing it at the same time, for those of you that are here in the live stream, but even from the recording, that we are all focused, looking in the same kind of time frame, making these images together. It's just so cool. So thank you for being a part of this. And I will see you half an hour earlier tomorrow, because at 9 o'clock, the normal start time is going to be workshop time. So sign up to the workshop too if you want. Come to the live stream and to the workshop. They are both going to be fun, no doubt, and very educational.